Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm from thetiltedthread.com. There are a ton of quilt piecing patterns that use triangles. The triangular shape means that the bias of the fabric is involved. Because of the shape of the triangle involves the bias, it is possible to stretch your quilting piece out of shape, making it difficult, if not impossible, to sew a block together. This is why some quilters shy away from patterns that use triangles. But there is a workaround. You can easily make multiple half-square triangles from squares. In this video, I'm going to show you the method of making half-square triangles 2 at a time, plus give you a couple tips on pressing them. I love what I do, and it makes me so happy to be able to share my passion with others. I've helped crafting students discover their natural skills and abilities to reach results they never dreamed were possible. I can help you get started on your very own path to success. Let's start now. To understand why triangles can be problematic, we need to understand bias. The bias of a woven piece of fabric is the angle between the horizontal straight grain and the vertical cross grain at 45 degrees. Bias is flexible and stretchy. You'd cut fabric along the bias to make bias tape that is used for tasks like binding or hemming, especially on curved edges. Because the shape of a triangle involves the bias, it's possible to stretch your quilting piece out of its original shape. This is why some quilters shy away from patterns with triangles. Start by cutting 2 squares. These squares should be cut 1 inch larger than the size you need for your quilt pattern. So, as an example, if we need a 3-inch unfinished HST half-square triangle, then we'll cut the squares 4 inches. The technical measurement is 7/8 of an inch, but I prefer to round up. Not only does it make the math simple, but it also gives you just a little extra breathing room. Draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of one of the squares. Depending on the fabric, you can use a pencil, a pen, or a fabric marker. Simply line up point to point and move just slightly off to the side closest to you to accommodate the tip of your writing utensil. Then draw 2 more lines, each 1/4 inch from the diagonal line. You can skip this step if you trust you can sew an accurate 1/4 inch on both sides. You can use an omnigrid ruler or an add-a-quarter ruler, or even a specialized tool like this one from Creative Grids. The center line will be your cutting line, and the other 2 lines are your stitch lines. Now stitch those 2 stitching lines carefully. Once you've done that, it's time to cut them apart. Using that same corner-to-corner guideline, use your rotary cutter to separate the pieces. Give these a press. Tip number 1, always set your seams first. Typically, you'll open your triangle with the seam underneath the darkest fabric unless your pattern specifically tells you otherwise. And tip number 2, be sure you are pressing, not ironing. You don't want to pull or stretch the triangular pieces. Think squishing. Remember we made these pieces just a little bigger? Now we need to trim them. Using your ruler with the 45-degree line, make sure that you are perfectly aligned on that fold. By our initial calculations, you'll have about a 1/16 of an inch on all sides to trim off. Instead, trim 2 sides, then align up your ruler measurement markings and the fold. Trim off the remainder of the excess. Once you have one side trimmed, you can adjust this to any size. Let's make this one 2.5 inches instead of 3. I hope with this technique you don't shy away from triangular patterns.